Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Digital Future AI School, where we learn the technology of the future today. Today's chapter is extremely critical. Artificial intelligence is not just software, it is redefining decision-making, governance, justice, and power structures. If AI makes a mistake, who is responsible? If AI violates privacy, how will justice be delivered? If deepfakes manipulate democracy, what happens to the Constitution? In this powerful and thought-provoking Chapter 29, authored by Mr. Zaheer Ahmad Meer, we will explore global AI laws, constitutional safeguards, liability frameworks, and especially a practical roadmap for developing countries like Pakistan. This is not just a chapter about technology, it is a blueprint for the future of justice, sovereignty, and human rights. Let's begin.
Welcome back to our channel, Digital Future AI School. Before we dive in, if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and of course like and share this with your friends. It really helps us out. So this is episode 29, and we're breaking down the incredible ideas in chapter 29 of the book AI, Your Smartest Partner in Life and Work by Mr. Zaheer Ahmad Meer. Today, we're tackling a massive question, one that's going to define our entire century. How in the world do we govern the most powerful technology humanity has ever created? You know, I want to start with just one question that gets right to the heart of this whole challenge. Can a machine, a piece of software, ever truly be held legally responsible for what it does? Now, this isn't some science fiction thought experiment anymore. This is a real question knocking on the doors of our courtrooms right now. And honestly, it's just the tip of the iceberg of a much bigger conversation we absolutely need to be having. So here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to unpack why AI is such a unique headache for our legal systems. Then we'll look at the core principles, the constitutional ideas that have to be our guide. From there, we'll tackle that huge liability question head-on, see how different countries are trying to figure it out, and then lay out a real blueprint for action. Finally, we'll talk about the end goal, finding that perfect balance. Okay, so what is the fundamental problem here? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Our entire legal system, every single law, regulation, and court case was built for a world run by humans, making human decisions. But AI has just walked in and completely rewritten the rules of the game. And that makes our old playbook not just outdated, but dangerously inadequate for what's happening now. Just think about how massive this shift is. We used to live in a world where people made the big calls, people provided the evidence, and people were held responsible when things went wrong. Now, we're in a new era where algorithms, machines, and autonomous agents are doing all of those things. This isn't just a small change, it's a total paradigm shift that makes a lot of our basic legal ideas totally obsolete.
And listen, the stakes here could not be higher. If we don't get this right, if we fail to build a new legal framework, we're not just talking about minor problems. We are looking at the very real possibility of widespread violations of our fundamental human rights, the manipulation of our elections, new and sneaky forms of digital discrimination, and the destabilization of the very justice systems that are supposed to protect us. The need for action isn't just important, it's incredibly urgent. So if our old laws aren't enough, where do we even begin? Well, we have to go back to basics. We need to look at those timeless constitutional pillars that were designed to protect us from any kind of unchecked power, whether that power came from a king, a government, or now an algorithm. These principles are our shield in this new age of AI.
The first principle, and honestly the most important one, is human dignity. This is the top value, both in constitutional law and in Islamic law, and it draws a very clear line in the sand. The rule is absolute. AI must always serve humanity, it can never control it. No piece of technology should ever be allowed to turn a person into just a data point or to manipulate them in a way that takes away their God-given autonomy and dignity.
And that flows right into our second principle, protecting our fundamental rights. You know, AI doesn't just get a free pass because it's new and complicated. Our constitutional rights, to privacy, to a fair trial, to be treated equally, are completely non-negotiable. And this means, and this is so important, any decision an AI makes that affects a person's life or freedom must always be reviewable by a human judge.
And that brings us to the third pillar that kind of holds everything together, the rule of law. This is all about accountability. The idea is simple.
AI has to operate inside our legal system, not in some strange gray area above it or outside of it. The key takeaway is that the people who build, sell, and use these systems have to be held responsible for what they do. We can never allow a machine to act as judge, jury, and executioner. Okay, now we're getting to one of the thorniest, most practical questions in all of AI law. It's the one everybody's thinking about. When an AI system messes up and causes real, actual harm in the real world, who's on the hook? Who's actually responsible? I mean, just think about the possibilities for a second. If a self-driving car gets into an accident or an AI medical diagnosis causes harm, who's legally at fault? Is it the programmer who wrote the code? The company that sold the car? What about the team that trained the AI on a certain set of data? Or the human who is supposed to be supervising it? Or, and this is the wild one, could the law ever decide that the machine itself is to blame?
Well, thankfully, there's a strong legal consensus starting to form around a really clear answer. Liability has to follow human accountability. At the end of the day, AI is a tool. Yeah, it's an incredibly powerful and complex tool, but it's still just a tool. And responsibility always traces back to the human beings who built it, deployed it, and were in charge of it. The machine is never the one to blame.
So, we've established that human accountability is the bedrock. But how do you actually build a system around that idea? To figure that out, let's zoom out a bit and see how the rest of the world is handling this. Because right now, there are three very different competing models for AI governance taking shape.
You can really see three different philosophies at work here. In the European Union, the top priority is human rights. So they're building these strict, detailed laws to protect their citizens. They're choosing safety over speed. Then you have the United States, which is focused on innovation and winning the economic race. They prefer more flexible, voluntary guidelines, so they don't slow down growth. And then there's China, which is all about state control and national security, using centralized regulation to push AI development in the direction the government wants it to go. Okay, so understanding what the big players are doing is super important, but let's bring the focus back down to the national level, especially for a developing country like Pakistan.